Our next speaker are from DasCoin, and there will be two developers that are going to share their insights. And one is Branislav Zelenak and Damir. Welcome them.
Hello, guys. So we are from DasCoin, which is short for Digital Asset System, and we built our platform on top of Graphene. So let me tell you a bit more about our platform. Anyway, until it works, let me start. So DasCoin is a platform based on blockchain applications that provide payment services to customers and usage of various network services. So here now, yeah. And we feature a wide range of blockchain-based applications. One of it is coming shortly now in June. It's called DasPay, and it will be a partnership with a credit card association that will allow payment through Visa, MasterCard, and other cards. And you will be able to use your DasCoin directly to pay with any merchants that have a contract with our partner. And I think it will be rather a novel approach where you can efficiently use your tokens directly to purchase online services and products. So our blockchain is based on Graphene, and it revolves around the main cryptographic asset called DasCoin, which is sort of a hybrid, hybrid token, and because it's partly centralized and partly decentralized system. It's governed by the board of DasCoin, which holds many data centers around the world. Currently, we are approaching the number of 33 data centers and servers where we launch our master nodes and ledger nodes. Our coin is currently, we launched in September last year, internal exchange called the Das Exchange, and you can use the service using the web wallet.com and the Coin Explorer, the blockchain explorer, which is dascoinexplorer.com. After achieving this very important milestone, we pushed to the next milestone to come out to public exchange. And currently we are on 3 public exchanges, and hopefully we'll have 2 very soon, another 2. CoinFalcon, BTC Alpha, and UBX, and which is also BitShares. Okay. Okay, so we already mentioned that our blockchain is based on Graphene, and so we have different tokens on our blockchain, and we have, of course, our main token is the DasCoin, and users can trade DasCoin on the Das Exchange, on any of the public exchanges, and can also transfer with each other. And also we have the Web Euro, which is kind of a stable coin, which is sort of, to say, tethered to the fiat euro, and users can, if they amass Web Euros, they can request payments directly from our system or one of the, and also we have cycles. So now cycles are something very specific to our network. Mainly when you purchase DasCoin license, which is the one way you can enter our network, you gain a certain amount of cycles, and those cycles have various purposes on our system, one of which the main is conversion to DasCoin. So basically, what we call the process of generating tokens is minting process, which is in itself a sort of a smart contract, which indicates that if you have cycles, you can submit them to the minting queue, and it will generate in an independent automatic process DasCoins and distribute to users. Now, I can tell you more about the minting queue in itself. Yes, first, just let me explain the frequency, because in the previous, you have seen that in order to gain DasCoin, you need to submit cycles to the minting queue. And how do you gain DasCoin? Well, the main conversion factor is so-called frequency. And frequency is sort of a measure of how many cycles and users we have in our system. So sort of an entropy, and it increases as user populate the network and you have more cycles and more tokens in our system. And also it paces in itself the production of DasCoin so that it stabilizes and is more distributed evenly, so that the system is more efficient. And so now we can in more detail go about the minting process. So the minting process, as I said, is Damir, you can come closer, you can jump in any time. The minting algorithm is very simple. It's based on a structure in memory called the minting queue, which is simply a queue, and it contains elements that user submitted cycles according to the frequency, which was active then when they entered the system. And it goes like this simply. It takes, well, so to say, it has two main parameters: the amount of DasCoin that currently is to be distributed, which is amount to distribute, and it also contains the interval. I mean, it will execute each 10 minutes currently, which is the setting, and it will distribute and create more DasCoin. So you take just simply the first element of the queue, and you will check if it has what is the attached frequency. And the frequency is usually a global parameter in our system, which is an integer number, and you will get the DasCoin equal to when you divide the number of cycles with the frequency. Currently, the users, which are licensed users and have DasCoin licenses, have this sort of perk, should I say. It's called the frequency lock, which actually captures the frequency at the moment the user is buying the license, which gives him sort of an advantage over users that don't have license and will only have the current global frequency, which is normally rising, and you will get less DasCoin. So either you have frequency lock or the global frequency, so this is the branch in the code, and then simply you take the amount to distribute and you compare it to the current queue element, which is DasCoin, so the number of cycles divided by frequency. And if you can distribute all of them, which means the DasCoin is less than the amount to distribute currently, you will just take and issue the DasCoin to the user that will be distributed. And you will update the amount to distribute by reducing the number, subtracting the number of just distributed DasCoin. And else, which is the main, if the amount is distributed is less than the current amount of the queue, it basically means that the current amount must be distributed in more steps. So, for example, if amount is distributed is 5,000 coins, and currently the user must gain 10,000 coins, it will be divided in two phases. So the next one, you will receive 5,000, and the following 2,000 you will get in the next 10 minutes, in the next minting process. So this branch of the code just, again, checks if you have frequency lock, and it will distribute the corresponding amount. Otherwise, you will just get the amount of DasCoin when you divide it with the global frequency. And then it will issue your DasCoin. It will reduce the amount, and it will be updated by the remaining. So the next 2,000, which will be triggered the next time the minting process activates. Okay. Yeah. So as we currently mentioned, that DasCoin is a fork of Graphene. We are using the flexible and efficient pattern to extend the blockchain using operations. Operations are, well, somebody already mentioned in itself sort of a smart contract because they have a few steps. First of which is condition checking. So they are based on a set of conditions, which is called validation. And then it will be evaluated. The network node will process, validate this operation coming in a current transaction, and it will execute it and sit in the blockchain. So basically, you can say that because smart contracts are more or less just a series of if and thens, where you check a series of conditions and then you execute an algorithm in the system based on operations that the blockchain can handle. Ethereum having a much more lower level of execution, but this we use just the operations, which are the sort of to speak the lowest level where you can manage the state of the blockchain and get from one state to another. Okay, one consistent state. Okay. So we, of course, during our development, added more specific custom operations that require by our system. One of which is, for example, issue license, where you will have, if you purchase a license in our system, you will the authority will issue your license, which is called a license information on the blockchain, and it will contain the number of cycles that the license contains. It will also have the frequency lock attached to the date when you purchased, which will be a good advantage. And then, of course, you have the update license, which just updates if the system requires a change. And then you have submit cycles, which is also one of our main operations, because when you have cycles, you can, of course, submit them to the queue and gain DasCoin, get more coins in our queue. But you can also use these cycles in various other ways. And the first one will be shortly explained. It is to pay the network fee, which is currently very efficient, only one cycle per transaction. Okay, now we have another feature in our blockchain, a sort of gamification, if you will. When you have cycles, you can, of course, submit them to the queue right away and get the appropriate amount of DasCoin according to the frequency. But you can also choose to wait a certain period of time and get your cycles doubled in the next upgrade event. So I will let Damir explain more about this because it's one of the main features he implemented. And he will explain that the upgrade is, a smart contract, which is a scheduled event. So Damir, can you tell more about it?
Morning. Please let me try to introduce myself real quick. My name is Damir. I'm one of the blockchain developers for DasCoin. We are situated in Belgrade, Serbia. Like my colleague Bane has already said, I worked a lot on the blockchain itself. One of the biggest smart contracts I implemented was the upgrade operation. Like Bane already has said, cycle upgrade is one of the biggest events on the DasCoin blockchain. Namely, it's a pretty big reward for all the accounts and users on the blockchain. Namely, all cycles which are not spent, which are not submitted to the queue or used to buy or to pay fees, are automatically upgraded every 108 days. What does it mean? For example, if a user has bought a license which entitles him to 100 cycles, and he kept those cycles for the next 108 days, on the first upgrade event, those cycles will be doubled. So namely, the user will end up with 200 cycles on his account. If, for example, he spent 20 then on the upgrade event he'll receive only 160. So like I already said, the upgrade event is a smart contract. Namely, there are dozens of operations where you can create an upgrade event, schedule it, delete it, update it, and the smart contract runs on itself without any user interaction.
Yeah, and users most often, and our users and colleagues often contemplate whether they should submit the cycles right away and get a DasCoin if the price is right at the moment, they might want to sell it. But otherwise they might want to wait and potentially get in a situation where the price might fall, but they also will gain double more DasCoins. So, and if you wait another period, which is sort of encouragement for the user to keep his coins, but it's up to user, of course, and maybe gain more profit in the future, gain more DasCoin. Okay, so we have another, well, so to say, a part of the governance of the system is, of course, the blockchain block producers, which are the master nodes, and we slightly altered the bit shares algorithm, which is based on voting and choosing the delegates that will produce blocks. To simplify, we just created a series of basic operations to create a witness, update the witness, and activate. So when the board is not able to vote, or you don't have currently, we just developed a simple operation that can create a witness and activate in the next slot. So you can add more master nodes or disable them if, well, that is required. Okay. Now we have, of course, our system is based on the centralized part, which is the issuance part, the generation of token, the licenses, cycles, and the decentralized part, which is, of course, when you have your own wallet and then you have your private key and you control your assets. So, but the decentralized parts, they contain of network authorities and administrative operations, like the license issuer, which has a private key to sign, issue license operations and managing licenses, cycles, and etc. And you have the license administrator, which can update the queue parameters. Mainly, those are the reward amount, which is the amount it will be distributed. Currently, it is around 20,000 DasCoin per 10 minutes. And of course, the interval, which is in itself 10 minutes. And so it bases the distribution of tokens according to the current number and the projected number of users to come. Okay, and one of the main things that we changed is we charge fees in cycles. So because the cycles are very, so to say, cheap asset in our system, you can acquire it through licenses, and you can buy them with DasCoin, and if you want to have more fees to pay. And we also developed a sort of it may be a novelty feature. We have a developer's pool account where the fee goes in, and to fund the development of the system. So actually, the developers also gain something by that, and which is I think a good process in difference to where fees might go to and enrich the owners or the biggest. So it is a kind of a nice feature. And yeah, we should mention also that while we are achieving our milestones, mainly the internal exchange and the public exchanges, and now nearing DasPay feature, which will, of course, activate the main thing, which is the Das platform, the payment service. It will, I mean, it really showed that people are liking our features, and now we have over 100,000 users in the public exchanges and the internal exchange that are participating, and I think it's a very good sign for us to encourage us to continue development and add more features. So we will continue listening to the community and add anything that is needed, and so to direct our development in a proper way. So I think that that's mainly it, and of course this is one picture. We have our team. And well, we hope to grow even more. Now we have maybe about 60 or 70 people in the development team and the customer support team, even more. So I hope that we will grow in numbers and attract more good developers and make the system even better. And that will be about it. Thank you, Damir, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you.